Hello folks! Well, it's the beginning of May now, and yet Northern California still hasn't decided to warm up. It is right around 50 degrees. I hope it really warms up within the next few hours. But what can you do? At least it never snows here. Welcome to another big Californian city. This has got a much different character than Los Angeles, but it's still got tremendous influence like Los Angeles does. This is the mighty San Francisco Bay. It's a large body of water in Northern California, and it's really the heart of where the true population of Northern California lies. At the most western point of this bay is a giant peninsula, and at the very tip of this peninsula is the great city of San Francisco. Don't call it Frisco or San Fran. People here won't be too happy with you, but it is still a great city worthy of those nicknames. I mean, what kind of city gets two big, well-known nicknames if it's not a tremendously influential one? By the end of today, if only I have enough energy to, hopefully, we will make it to the other side of this peninsula, the Pacific Ocean. And in between is a day for us to get a glimpse at how this city came to be, how it has affected California culture, how it may be similar or different from Southern California, and how this has contributed to the rapid development of the Californian state we see today. I want to be able to do everything I have planned for our day in San Francisco before I have to leave back on the Golden Gate Ferry up north to where I came from. So with that being said, let's explore an in-depth look into the cultural hub of Northern California, the city by the bay, San Francisco, California. Dang it. Gotta wait another hour here in the cold. Well, after a bit of walking down Market Street, I noticed a lot of things. One, there's a great blend of old and new here. Old buildings and, of course, glassy skyscrapers, which indicate newer construction. I also noticed a lot more public transportation than a normal city of this size might have. Lots of various buses and electric streetcars, and of course we came on a ferry and a train, and there's just so much public transportation here. Oh, bye-bye. Another thing is all the foreign languages spoken here. I hear just with people passing along the street, different accents of English, and then of course different languages. San Francisco must be a very, very diverse place. Safe to say that center of any major city is going to be the downtown or the center city area. And in the center of San Francisco's downtown is Union Square, this massive city of 800,000 people. Oh, hello. This massive city calls this square, Union Square, the centerpiece of its majestic urban layout. Full of pigeons. Now up ahead is another thing about which San Francisco can mightily boast. Wow, well, isn't this something? This is San Francisco's Chinatown. Like the Italian or Irish immigrant groups made a huge impact and cultural influence on the Northeast. Well, the Chinese did that here in San Francisco and all along the West Coast. With a presence dating back to the mid-19th century, this can only mean one thing. This is America's oldest substantial Chinese community. It's amazing to see how much influence these streets have. Oh my, the alleys are even cooler. I guess this is the default setting of a fortune cookie before it dries out. So the people at the Golden Gate Fortune Cookie Company factory are here to turn these into full-fledged fortune cookies. And they're sold all around the country. It's a very, very famous joint. And it's just in a back alley of San Francisco's Chinatown. San Francisco being the home of the oldest Chinatown in America, it's incredible. There's so much historical influence, as I say, and it goes on for blocks and blocks and blocks. Normal Chinatowns that I've seen along maybe the East Coast, they're only maybe like a block or one street long, but this goes on for a long time. It's brilliant. Okay, another thing we gotta talk about is another thing that San Francisco is notoriously known about. Now, in addition to the climate that we've mentioned, you know, mild year-round temperatures, something like that, the topography is just wild here. The city itself is already surrounded by a series of hilly formations around the bay, on the outskirts, but even in the downtown, even in the places where population is abundant, there are these things called hills. So you could be living right there and need to find a way down just onto the adjacent street, as if the urban atmosphere doesn't already contribute to a headache when you're trying to drive through and around San Francisco. But driving on this hilly terrain must also serve as a great way to induce a headache while you're here in San Francisco. You're kidding me, there's actual designated streets this high up? Oh, where do you live in San Francisco? Oh, I don't live too far away from you. Just, you know, get out of your house, walk a bit, and, you know, take a right once you hit the clouds. Oh, look at that. Another great view of the San Francisco Bay. Perhaps if the trees were not here at such a high, lofty peak of Telegraph Hill, it might be possible to get a full 360-degree view of the San Francisco area. We're already getting a nice scope already. Remarkable overhead views of all the wharves and piers along the edge of this peninsula. You know, we should go down there for a closer look. my, that is one steep street. They're all over, these steep streets. I can only imagine what it would have been like, how much of a headache I would have had to deal with if I brought my car into the city of San Francisco. Well, for many reasons, that's not a good idea. I do not recommend bringing your car in. Take the metro, take some sort of public transportation if you gotta come here. You know, up to this point on the Best of the Most West tour, I often say that rain will not deter us. But there hasn't been a chance for rain to deter us because there hasn't been any rain so far on the West Coast. But once you get up here, I guess this is the unofficial beginning of the Pacific Northwest. Thus, it's gonna rain pretty frequently. Regularly, but very light. It's a very light sprinkle. And compared to other parts of the country which just get downpoured, it's very tolerable. Much like Los Angeles, San Francisco is a city of culturally distinct districts, and we've already seen a lot of that between downtown, Chinatown, Telegraph Hill, and now we are here at the Fisherman's Wharf. This is the main area for all your boating and aquatic and marine fascination. Okay, maybe it's a little more than a nice sprinkle. This might be the average San Francisco rainfall. Well, the show must go on. I mean, I've spent way too much money at this point, and we, together on the coverage project, have traveled way too far from home to just waste it standing like a chump. So here we go, continuing on in San Francisco. Now the great thing about treating our trip like an adventure, ooh, what a great view. Oh, terrific. It's even more fun to see all the raindrops fall. But anyway, the great thing about treating our trips on the coverage project like an adventure is that when there is bad weather, like, well, bad weather. Snow is my bad weather, but when people here believe that there is bad weather, all the package tourists go home to their hotels, all the locals take shelter. But we venture forth. And thus we get an unobscured picture of the real San Francisco harbors. We don't have to dodge and sift through people, we just venture on forth and, well, I guess that's one way to look at an adventure. There's good, there's bad, but I do like the rain for those reasons. Yeah, this is the real San Francisco. Lots of maritime activity going on. Check that out, it's a seal or a sea lion or whatever that thing is. Oh, bye-bye. Now check this out. This is San Francisco. All packed together. I mean, yeah, it's only the 4th largest city by population in California. That's just the state, but in terms of population density, well, it's the 2nd largest in all of America, just behind New York City. So picture all those New York cramped tenements and everything. Well, this comes in 2nd place, San Francisco. Although the population is just 800,000, the metro population is, well, debatable. It really varies and ranges depending on who you ask and what metrics you use, but it's somewhere around 8 million. Now think of your iconic San Francisco postcard. You know, the ones that say, greetings from blank this city. I guess in this case it's beautiful San Francisco. What would you put on? What would you include on that postcard? Well, for one, I would love nothing more than to include two things. One, the beautiful, colorful, Victorian-style houses that you see all over the city. It doesn't matter what district you are in, you will see some sort of ornately decorated house. Or building, doesn't have to be a house. And the second thing I would love to put on that postcard is what we have up ahead. You know, now that I think about it, how expensive would it be to own a home like this right next to the San Francisco Bay? That is a price tag I would never want to pay. It's clear from all we've seen so far, this is a city that to some people is the dream city in which to live. I kind of disagree for a multitude of reasons, but how did this supposed city of dreams begin? Well, at first, like a lot of these towns and cities and settlements in California, it was the Spanish. First, we have to make the distinction. San Francisco, the name, was at one point different from the area that was first settled. There was a nearby Presidio, a military outpost built up by the Spanish under the name of San Francisco. But the original trading settlement that was established here around the same time as the Presidio was called Yerba Buena. And for a long time it was called Yerba Buena. And it was a small little settlement until the gold rush of the mid-1800s that changed everything in the course of California history. The California gold rush of 1849 prompted one of the world's most massive migration events in human history. And it gave California the reputation that still pervades today as a land of opportunity. It turned San Francisco to the west of those California hills as a great stopping place to do business and trade, and soon it became California's #1 largest city in the state. It no longer has that title, but the lingering legacy still is in effect. The legacy, however, is not forgotten upon the residents of San Francisco. And even in the decades after, San Francisco was not only the #1 city in California, but the #1 largest city on the entire West Coast. Now, this city did go through its share of hiccups. I mean, tell me a city that has everything going for it at all points of its history. Not many. The 1906 earthquake devastated the city, shattered buildings. Sadly, there were a lot of fatalities in the San Francisco Bay Area, but the people of San Francisco picked themselves up by their bootstraps and rebuilt the city, and 9 years later, in 1915, the Palace of Fine Arts was completed. Oh, and how beautiful and grand it is. A testament to the fact that even after tragedy strikes, you can still rebuild yourself. Now, after World War II, the whole identity and atmosphere around San Francisco changed completely. It became a hub for countercultures. So people who were sort of, I guess, rejects of society at the time flocked to San Francisco because it was a free haven for those countercultures. Think the beatniks or the hippies. San Francisco was a place that welcomed these people. It also became the de facto capital of the Vietnam War resistance movement. There was plenty of opposition at that time, late 60s, early 70s, to the Vietnam War, and people of San Francisco were very much opposed to the idea of the Vietnam War and US involvement. In recent decades, the San Francisco Bay Area was the growing home of Silicon Valley. Silicon, don't know. But Silicon Valley area was a hub for these high-tech startup companies. Think Google or Apple. Yeah, they came to this area. Once again, a land of opportunity awaited here. And consequently, this is the place at which we find the San Francisco Bay Area to be in at this present day, America's largest stronghold for the values of liberalism. All right, we've waited long enough. Do you guys want to know what that second item up ahead on that postcard that I was talking about is? Welcoming the charming and plentiful waters of the San Francisco Bay with the city in the distance. That's actually Alcatraz, the famous prison over there. Angel Island in some direction over there. We have to greet us, the great Golden Gate Bridge. Now, as we get closer and closer to this Golden Gate Bridge, a world famous landmark and a treasure of America, it becomes clear this is no ordinary bridge. The size gets larger and larger until it becomes an extraordinary size to the individual. Look at that, the Golden Gate. That is the body of water for which the Golden Gate Bridge is named. You can think of it like the gate from the Pacific to America, or the gate from America to the broader world. It's a marvel to see. That is a marvel of architecture. Say, there's no better place to conclude San Francisco than the Golden Gate Bridge. It's just the iconic landmark of San Francisco, akin to New York City's Statue of Liberty or Philadelphia's Liberty Bell. It goes along, it's inseparable from the city. San Francisco, it's a world-class city. It's known for its spectacular natural sights, along with some mighty fine, pleasant architecture. And originally when I came here, I was seriously doubting a lot of even to come here to visit just one day on my own without a car. Because I think the news really gets in my mind. The media, the world of noise, just filters us with bad thoughts. So don't go there. But, you know, with a lot of common sense, San Francisco's just like any other city. Sure, it's got its problems. Doesn't any city have its abundance of problems? No city's perfect. So I would definitely recommend San Francisco. I'm pleasantly surprised. And with that, I bid farewell from the Northern California coast. Hey, look at that, the Pacific Ocean. Looking at the beautiful Golden Gate. The Golden Gate Bridge, of course, at the background. More travels to come. I will see you at the next location.